Good afternoon, everybody. I am so excited to share with you the next interview in my Be Good to You interview series with my friend Karyn Harrison, who I have just gotten to know so well and absolutely adore. So thank you, Karyn, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this with me today.
You're welcome. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's get this started. So share with me your health story and how you weren't being good to yourself.
Oh, gosh. Well, the problem was I was taking care of everybody else. So back up about 10 years or so, I was a mom of 4. I was married to a preacher. We had just started our second church. And so when you start churches, it's kind of like the Mike and Karyn show. Mike was the preacher, Karyn was the worship leader. And so I honestly had no wiggle room in my schedule. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I couldn't because we didn't have enough money for me to stay at home. So I did the whole daycare thing while my kids were little. And then and they didn't know the difference. They thought that they were just playing with their friends. They didn't know that mom was working from home. Then when the kids went on to school, they said, "Mom, get those kids out of our house. They're messing up our toys. Our rooms are a mess when we get home from school." So I still wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I didn't have that luxury. So I found the only job that I could think of that I could make the most money in the shortest amount of time, be there to put my kids on the bus in the morning, and then be there when they got off the bus in the afternoon. So I cleaned houses for a living. And back then, it was not a pretty sight. I was 285 pounds. I was cleaning houses 40 hours a week. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I literally would get up in the morning, be the mom, right? I would wear that hat, put my kids on that school bus. Then I would get in my car and I would race to my first cleaning job, clean that house, be exhausted, race to my second cleaning job, get that one done. And sometimes, I'm not kidding you, Kristen, I would two-wheel it into the driveway to be home when that bus got there. My kids didn't know the difference, and I was pulling it off. I was doing it. I was exhausted. I had no time for myself. You know, here I am cleaning other people's houses when they're out having lunch with their girlfriends. They're going to field trips with their kids at school. And I didn't have that luxury. So I was a mess. You know, I was either taking care of my 4 kids, taking care of someone else's house, or I was taking care of the church. And it left very, very, very little time for me. And so as a result, I was very unhealthy. Physically, I was very unhealthy. I didn't even think I had time to have healthy habits in my life. I didn't have any healthy habits. My energy source, and this is embarrassing, but I'm going to say it, cookie dough. That's how I got through the day. I needed quick energy that was cheap, and I ate cookie dough while I cleaned houses. It was ridiculous. And I came home exhausted. I was exhausted. So mentally, I was worn out. I had no bandwidth. Honestly, I just was thrown from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And it just never stopped. It just never stopped. And then financially, you know, here I am working really, really hard. I'm trying to provide for these 4 kids. My husband, bless his heart, he's serving in the church, and we're trying to, you know, be shepherds of this little church, this little flock. And we weren't making any money. We weren't making enough money. And I didn't see any way for us to get out of that situation, honestly. So I was very unhealthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. It was a mess.
Well, it sounds like you were similar to me, although I wasn't cleaning houses, but I mean that your cup was a colander, and you were just trying to stay above that first little row of openings before it would spill out. So, you know, I get that. I absolutely get that. And I know all about the surviving on that type of food for energy. Totally get it. I get that. So now, what habits and mental well-being practices do you do on a daily basis now to be good to yourself?
Well, fast forward another 10 years or so, and an amazing transformation has happened in my life. I decided one day, Kristen, this was really interesting. I decided one day as I was on a bathroom floor cleaning someone else's toilet that this wasn't working for me anymore. This isn't how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. This isn't how I could spend the rest of my life, you know, being so unhealthy. So my husband and I took measures into our own hands. He dropped a ton of weight, 120 pounds. I dropped 115 pounds. we partnered up with other people who were moving their lives forward. And so we just surrounded ourselves with people who were changing it. That, and I've come to the point now in my life where I just think, don't complain to me about your life. If you don't like your life, get up off the bathroom floor, put down the toilet scrubber, and go figure it out, right? And so fast forward now, my husband and I have gotten healthy physically, which has been wonderful. That in and of itself would have been enough for us, but that led to us getting healthy mentally. I never thought I would gain victory in that area. And that was part of my depression, and part of my anxiety was, am I always going to be like this? So fast forward now, I did a very easy, simple program with the help of my coach. Then I decided to pay it forward because we're wired to serve people. That's what we do. We're pastors. And so I just started taking care of other people and shifting the focus off of myself onto other people. And now, by the grace of God, I'm able to work for myself. I actually have my own housekeeper. She's wonderful. But there are some things that I do every day now that I have the luxury of doing because I worked hard for them. So it wasn't just handed to me on a silver platter. But one of the things I realized is that I don't like mornings. I really don't. I'm not going to lie about it. I need some quiet time in the morning. My kids are all gone now. Isn't it funny? Now I'm a stay-at-home mom and all my kids are out of the house. But I know that from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 10 o'clock in the morning, I need to do some things to really build into myself. So I have a daily quiet time that I do. I have a daily yoga practice that I do. It's quiet. I have my coffee in the morning. I listen to worship music. I journal. And that's my time. And I'm very blessed. I've been able to create a life where I can have that kind of freedom. But I'm no good to anyone else unless I've been good to myself. And so from 8 to 10 a.m., that's what I do. I focus on that. And it's very relaxed. And it really allows me to breathe and get some mental bandwidth before I hit my day. And so I go to work around 10. I run a very large health coaching practice. And I work from home, which is kind of cool. So the first half of my day, from 10 until 2, is working with my personal clients, working with my personal coaches, and just working on my business, just doing the things that I need to do. And here's a beautiful thing I learned. In any given day, you only have about 3 or 4 things that really need to be done, right? The rest of it is just kind of fluff. So I've learned to prioritize my day. And so I call it my fly paper. I'll show you my fly paper. This is my fly paper. It's a mess. It's a mess. Everything goes onto my fly paper that I think is so important, that it deserves a line on my paper. But then I go back over it with a highlighter, and I highlight the things that just must be done today. And they're really, honestly, Kristen, there's only 3 or 4 on any given day. So I get those done, and then the rest of it, I feel like Superwoman because I'm crossing things off my list and I'm getting so much accomplished. But then around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I know myself very well. I need a break, right? Because you can only give and serve and encourage and support for so long without rejuvenating. So because I know what's coming up in the rest of my day, I take a 2-hour break every day from 2 to 4 p.m. I can do whatever I want. I can go sit in a hot tub. I can take my dogs for a walk. I can go shopping. I can take a cat nap, whatever, have coffee with a girlfriend. And it's just a time for me to refill, refocus, catch my breath, because from 4 to 8 every day, I work with my team of coaches. And so I'm pouring into their businesses, and I'm helping them talk to clients and helping them to build their organizations. So my day is kind of chunked out like that on purpose. And that works for me because it gives me plenty of white space in my calendar that's just for me, which I learned a long time ago. If I don't have white space in my calendar that's got my name on it, somebody else's name is going to be on it. Yeah. So those are just some of the things I do. I hope that's what you were looking for. I hope that's helpful.
No, that's awesome. No, I need to get better about creating that white space. I think it's become very apparent in doing these interviews that being good to you is keeping those appointments with yourself too, and realizing that they are very, very important to continue helping others.
Well, one of the really cool things, I have this really awesome website called Calendly, and it's my availability for my coaches. So they can schedule their own appointments with me, and we do a lot of three-way calls and Zooms and that kind of thing. But here's the thing. I need to go in and claim my spot. You know, if I need a break, or if I know that, you know, my husband and I want to go out for dinner or whatever, I got to get into that calendar and make an appointment with myself, literally, so that it takes it off of my availability so nobody else claims that spot. But it's kind of a fun game to see who can get to my time slots first.
I use the same thing, and I'm always going, oh, geez, I forgot. I need to put that in there so that I remember. But
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to others to encourage them to be good to themselves? We're really, really struggling.
Well, I can only speak for I can speak for my clients and my coaches too. Counterbalance. You know, there's no such thing as balance, no matter what you do. And although my calendar, my day-to-day calendar seems very balanced, I flit from work to play to, you know, work to play, back and forth. But one of the things that I have found necessary for myself is counterbalance. And, you know, my husband and I raised our kids over in the Grand Haven area, and we grew up by the water. The kids grew up by the water, and we would go to Lake Michigan every night after work. Of course, I was exhausted. I was dragging a lawn chair, and I would sit at the end of the dock, right, or at the end of the sidewalk, and watch them play. But the water has always been a very calming, very soothing effect on me, and I'm sure there's probably a reason for it. But what I realize is when I am looking at the big water, is what I call it, and it's out in front of me, all the people are behind me. All the faces and all the people I love and care for and support and encourage, they're all behind me for just a moment. And so for just a moment, it's just me. And I can breathe. And somehow that just kind of like brings me back to balance. It's called counterbalance. And for everybody, it's a little bit different. So I have a really great life coach, Kevin McCarthy, and he said to me, so how do you bring that counterbalance into your home? And I said, well, I live in Lansing. I live right in the middle of the state. I don't live near Lake Michigan. I don't live near big water. He said, well, how can you bring the big water to you? So I have this big, huge, 6 foot tall by about 3.5, 4 feet wide, beautiful oil painting of big water. And I can literally, and I don't know if you can see it behind me. There's one behind me too.
Oh, very good.
Enjoy the journey, not the destination. Right? So I counterbalance. The colors in my house are all watercolors. So sea glass and sand and sun and water. So I've just been very intentional and very purposeful about finding counterbalance along the way. And you can find counterbalance even in every single minute if you need to, you know, just going back to that space where you counterbalance the stress out and you're ready to go for the next thing. So that's been a really important discipline for me personally, is because my children, my husband, my clients, my coaches, my friends, they depend on me, and I want to be there for them. That's part of why I love doing what I do. But if I'm not there for myself first, I can't possibly be there for them. So that would be my advice, is find out what it is for you that feeds your soul. Right? That what heals you, your why, right? Kristen, I know that's your favorite definition for the word why. But then find that counterbalance and then find a way to integrate that into your everyday life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you can see my background is now blue because I painted my office, and I didn't even realize the depth of what the color blue means, and that it means to heal the mind and the body. And so that's really cool that you talk about that. So thank you so much, Karyn, for taking time out of your day. I know this is probably your free time.
You know what? Honestly, I'm sitting here having a cup of coffee with a dear friend. And so this right now is counterbalancing me. It's kind of feeding my soul. So
awesome.
Nice little break in my afternoon.
Well, you definitely fed my soul. So thank you so much, Karyn. Continue to keep doing the wonderful work that you're doing and loving on people and doing the hard work. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. I think I will.
All right. Take care.